Now, in terms of my Hornby Thomas collection, I do have a fair few characters and wagons. Before then, I've had a few customs, but we're not going to include them into the video because Duck here was a Rouser Sheffield find from years ago, which was very funny. And 16 is not really an official model, is he? And he's not really related to the Hornby Thomas range, but it's just nice that I made him, so he'll sit there. And before anyone asks, Bachman Jr. ain't included too. Even if they are Thomas related, as in toolings, they're not part of the video, of course. So in no particular order, let's just start with what I've got in the collection. Here's Clockwork Thomas. This guy was a bit of a bodge build, as I bought the chassis and a very damaged body shell from a car boot for about 50 pence. And I thought, hey, this chassis runs really well. I wonder if I could find a body shell in pretty good condition for cheap and just rebuild it. And surprisingly enough, I found a listing with another Clockwork Thomas for about 10 quid, but the chassis was missing a coupling rod and one of the gears. So I bought that. This buffer had to be repaired because it was missing a buffer head and it was broken. And I fixed the bugger and put them all together. It wasn't really meant to be anything important. It was just a little fun project I wanted to make. Wanted to restore and just to see how well these Hornby 040 Clockwork 00 gauge locos work. Because I have one, but the quartering's a bit funny, so he kind of goes on a clank, if that makes any sense. And he seems a bit front heavy, so having Thomas, he runs much better. And for some reason, even when I made a video about him on my second channel, for some reason, it bloomin' blew up with a 102,000 subscribers views. Moving on from Clockwork Thomas, let's go to a normal electric Thomas. Now for Thomas, he was the first model in my Hornby Thomas collection. I specifically bought the 040 one because I like... Well, if I think of Hornby Thomas, I think of 040 Thomas rather than this big chunkus over here. But he sits over here for the minute. It's because years and years ago, my club was part of the Rickinghall Model Railway Show. And one of our members, Alan, he had a Thomas themed layout, which had Thomas, Percy, a custom Bill and Ben, and 3 made up characters made out of these Hornby D-class locos with Percy faces on the front, which are kind of crudely painted, but you know. And I think it was around last year, I decided, hey, I want some Hornby Thomas stuff. Even though, well, actually, I was just more into Trackmaster because I was getting out of OO because I was getting tired of setting up the train set oval and getting all sweaty and uncomfortable, and just it felt like an exercise. So I just decided, when I saw a listing for a Hornby 040 Thomas for about 11 quid, I thought, hey, I'd go for it just in case the prices rocket up and then it becomes unaffordable. And luckily I did, because they have become unaffordable pretty much. So I went ahead and bought it and just started to repair it. From the photos I'm probably going to show in this video and just slideshow through, the whole front of the footplate had cracked along here, along the weak point of the tooling. So I glued that back on. The steps were missing, I think, and I just nicked them off another Thomas related shell. All this what am I saying? I painted the footplate in a light grey rather than white, because the footplates are grey, not white. Don't know why everyone keeps insisting they're white. Just a very, very light grey. The neck brace well, the smoke box neck braces are here. I painted them black, of course. Lampines, they were bits of plastic just cut off and glued on. They are a bit thick, but I feel like they'd be proper sturdy on there and they wouldn't break off if I ever gave it to, like, I don't know, a child maybe. These whistles up here, they're just standard Hornby whistles, brass whistles. Drilled holes into the back of the boiler and just glued them in. The wheels have been repainted because they have a silver rim around them and I wanted them just to be full blue, so they're full blue now. These little guardrails, I think that's what they're called, I painted them red just because. Lamp's been painted. Brake pipe's been painted. I added some more coal to the bunker. And I think that's a vacuum, no, that's a steam heat pipe, maybe. I don't know what it is, but I got it off a B12 accessory kit, and I just stuck it on because I thought that'd be something to do with push-pull trains. Thomas also comes with about 3 other faces. These 2 are from the RC Trackmaster Thomas, the flip face one. I found this in a box of spare Trackmaster spares I bought, so they just became the main faces of this Thomas for a while before someone was selling some spare Thomas faces, and I bought one. Here's a sad face I just nicked off of a wooden Thomas. It's a bit small in diameter to try and get the face off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there you go. It's a bit small for what it needs to be, but it kind of looks good. Put the original face back on. I did actually add some weight to this Thomas because he's a bit light if you ever have an 040 Thomas, and just added some weight around the bunker and inside the smoke box, as is what I can only find to put weight in. So that's Thomas. Next up I actually bought in the lineup was Duck. I found him for very cheap off of a person who, well, he commissioned me a lot on that year, and he was selling some stuff on eBay, including some Hornby stuff. So he had a really cheap job lot of Hornby scrap bits. I know he had like a Sodal Mail TPO coach with no bogies. I sold that on because I couldn't find any bogies to go with it, even though I could have just kept it around and fitted some bogies. That was my biggest regret of selling it, but I think I just needed money at the time. It also came with a cattle wagon from the Thomas range, so there's that. But yeah, not a lot happened to Duck. I just restored him because he was covered in Tipex, and I bought him for very cheap in a £15 lot rather than spend like 100 and something on him. He runs well. Of course, he's got the suspended rear wheels for some reason. So there's Duck. Who else have I got next on the list? I think next up we could talk about Percy. So here's Percy. Nah, I'm kidding. Here's Percy. Right, I fooled you again. Here is Percy. For some reason I have 3 Percys, and I can explain. This guy's my main one, and I specifically bought him, well, I got him as a birthday present, because there was a listing with 2 Percys. This guy and this guy. This one was the normal one out of the 2. This one was practically the same story as Thomas. He was practically split like an egg along here, so front half of him was broken away from the back. And same story as Thomas, I've just glued him back together. I've added some weight to him, so he's quite heavy. More heavy than a stock standard Percy here. This one kind of runs a bit lumpy, but it just always needs a bit of warming up. This guy is actually my girlfriend's first Percy, I would say. And I let her run him a lot, pretty much. That's why I haven't sold him on or anything. So he's got some sentimental value and he just sits on the shelf, really. But yeah, he's just stock standard, very light. A few scuffs. Here's my Percy. Lamp, brake pipes, lamp irons, safety valves and a whistle from a Cali Pug. Again, drilled into the tank and just glued them in. Whoops. Coal in the bunker. Painted back lamp. Painted everything, really. And it's just a nice looking model, honestly. So there's my Percy's. Well, this one. This was from Nat. You all might remember Nat. I talk about him a lot. Good friend of the club. He was just salvaging parts. Well, no. He didn't look like this. He had a face and buffers and motor and everything, but he was all locked up because I don't know what he did or what happened, but it felt like Gorilla Glue got spilt onto his wheel here and just locked it up. So now this chassis is absolutely seized, unless if I pulled it apart and just cleaned it, but I don't think I'd really be too bothered to do that because it's just crap anyway. But I'm just keeping this around just in case one day I want to use it in a project. So he goes back in the spares box. Who do we talk about next? Diesel. And he was my most expensive one out of the whole lot. I haven't really said this yet in the video, but usually my models are either freebies, very cheap from people who don't know what they're selling, trades, or just gifts, really. Diesel here was my most expensive. I paid 40 quid for him from Rails of Sheffield. He was missing a face, and of course the obvious details I hadn't done yet. I numbered him after the 08 at the Blue Belt, I think, because I watched this video about the real life Diesel, and I thought I'd number him after I think it's Solar Island Models who made the video. I'll give it a link to it in the description about it. But I numbered it after that Diesel, 08 even. Gave him a BR crest just to be unique. Red coupling rods. And the face is from a Tomy Diesel. It's from the one from the Tomy Roller Coaster Mountain baby toy thing. It comes with a Diesel with the same casted Tomy face, but it's a separate piece that you can just unscrew the thing and take it off and just trim some bits of plastic, and there's a nice Diesel face for you. Pretty okay with this Diesel. He looks pretty good, actually. And yeah, he just sits around on my layout. Honestly, you're all saying I could have just bought a normal 08 for cheaper and made Diesel that way, but I want to make most of my collection out of just the Hornby Thomas range, so spending 40 quid for Diesel, I don't feel regretful. Right, what's next on the agenda? On the topic of Diesels and probably breaking the rule, here's my OC Ryan, obviously named after me. I think most of you might know the very confusing backstory about Ryan the Diesel, but he's kind of related because he's a Hornby Dart. Well, Hornby Dart after they stopped making Dart. So the Hornby Bagnall. Some people, I don't think they actually note down is actually why this thing is out of scale is because, like Percy being quite chunky, both of them are in the same boat. I don't know why Hornby made the cab so big. Maybe it's because, like, through pictures it would look proportionally accurate. But he just looks like he's, oh, what's that bloomin' gauge? Not 009. I don't know what gauge it is. I'll probably just put it up on the screen. But yeah, if you have a Hornby Bagnall, I think if you look closely at the front bonnet, you could see a little bit of a outline. That is exactly where the Dart face would have sat when it was Dart, after they stopped making Dart. But yeah, they just reused the Bagnall tooling from when they made Dart, and now it just still sits in the Hornby range as either a Coca-Cola train or a Elon Musk diesel shunter or a whatchamacallit, I don't know. But yeah, this is one front I bought from Daniel, practically almost factory conditions, and this is my original one. That is like probably my oldest running loco in the collection. It's very scruffy. I'm definitely going to strip this down and repaint it into a better livery at some point. But he's a trooper. He's been sitting in my collection for ages, and he deserves a good old overhaul. He's been sitting in the back here. Let's talk about him next. This guy actually hasn't got anything related to the main cast of characters I've shown so far. This is my model of, well, a Day Out with Thomas type of Thomas, if that makes any sense. This is D. Lucy's Thomas. It is, of course, an E2, but it's not meant to be an E2 because of the short wheelbase. So let's just say this was just some stock standard 060 that had a short wheelbase, and they built an E2 styled body around it, and it just sits on, and it just does Thomas things on the railway. The Backman face, I specifically wanted to do this project because I bought a very cheap Hornby Thomas ages ago. The chassis, original chassis, which had all-wheel pickup. This one has only four-wheel pickup because the traction tyres in the middle, which is pretty crap. I don't like these types of 060 chassis. I really think the all-wheel pickup ones are much better. But I digress. This is a Backman face from good old Cameron, or Crankster. Because I asked for a Backman, if anyone had a Backman Thomas face and or the iMech. He offered me this face. Everyone says the face is pretty crap, but personal opinion, and I think it's correct. This works wonderful with the Hornby Thomas range. Any Backman face works well with the Hornby Thomas range. Well, other than James, and I will show you in a minute after I've done talking about this guy. But yeah, I don't think I said the old chassis, it was out of quartering, and it's because like the axle does not grip to the wheel properly. So if I even wanted to run it, it would just slip and it'll go out of quarter easily. So I just gave up with that. I don't want to try glue the wheels on, or I might glue the axle to the chassis. So I just bought a new chassis instead. The iMech does work if I just ping the face off. There you go. But it's like a poseable thing, so I gotta flick the face off and just pose the eyes wherever I want it to be. Sometimes the iMech goes way too far back into the smug box, and then it's got like a big hollow area around his eyes, which looks pretty horrible. But there you go, there's my Thomas. Yeah, you can see there, look at all that shadow. It's not very nice. But I think this face looks brilliant on this model. Everyone says it doesn't, and I should put like something like this on it, for example. But this just looks crap. I like this better. It just looks very Day Out with Thomasy to me on this model, and that's why it just stays. So Thomas sits back there. Who can we talk about next? James. Yes, he looks like absolute dog poo. This was another thing from Crankster. I traded with him some wooden railway items that I found, which are pretty valuable. I'm not very big on the wooden railway scene. It's like 1995 stuff, whatever. all very old wooden railway stuff. I traded it off for, well, practically broken Hornby James and Gordon. He's currently using the Hornby face on his Backman James, so in a trade he gave me his Backman face and put it on I put it on my Hornby James that he gave me and I fixed. James was the nicest out of the two that I was given. He runs well. The tenders are a bit strange because sometimes they want to work, sometimes they just want to not work. And I have done everything to look into it, but they're just a bit crap. So is his face. I am definitely changing it out because camera's definitely trying to file down this raised cheek here, and it looks very creepy, and I do not like it. So I'm definitely going to get like a Tommy James at some point, and just use the face off of that when I repaint it. Repaint the face, I mean. A lot of this model and Gordon was covered in Sharpie, like the foot plate was covered in Sharpie. So was the sole bars, they were covered in Sharpie, but a bit of acetone, gently clean them up. Cab crew to hide the very minimalist cab interior. These back steps were just trimmed off, so I put them back on because I thought, because they show this electrical drawbar too well, and I don't like that a lot. So yeah, I just reconstructed the steps. He runs well. He doesn't like, his wheels don't lock up, but Gordon's does. Move James over here, and we'll talk about Gordon, our last loco out of all of them. This video's almost become a half an hour. Blimey now. Here's Gordon. One of my recent fixes. Gordon, for the longest time, has just been sitting on the shelf collecting dust and waiting for me to get some new linkage bits. Because whenever, I think it was Cameron, whenever he first got it, one side of the linkage was missing. So it was around here, I think. I don't want to uncouple the tender because it's a bit stuck at the minute. But one side of the linkage, this, get a toothpick so I can point better. This bit of linkage, this crank pin here was broken off, and so was the brass screw-in bit for the wheel. Was just absolutely crunched and would not accept this anymore. So someone clearly just had a bit of an angry with it and just broke it. The washer for these bits of coupling rod was missing too. So for ages and ages and ages, I had to try and find a spare chassis or spare bits. No one was selling this crank pin or the spacer back here. But luckily Mr. George came forward, well, when I asked him if he had any spare Flying Scotsmans or Gordons. Well, anything with this type of linkage. And he had a Flying Scotsman, sold it to me for about 10 quid. And I ripped off the spacer, the crank pin, and the brass screw bit for this driving wheel, and just put it all back together. When I was running Gordon, he ran like crap at first because he was so light and his linkage was constantly just get stuck. Oh no, I've broken it. Don't worry lads, I've fixed it, hopefully. I think it's just a bit loose. But yeah, I haven't ran in Gordon yet, but I think there'll be a clip when I have shown him running in. Gordon was a lot of restoring. I thought I could just rub off most of the grey paint, the Sharpie on the foot plate. Clearly wouldn't work, so I just have to mostly repaint it. Linkage, of course, like I've said, has been fixed. The cab interior has been painted, and there's been a cab crew fitted. The tender frames, other than being blue, I've repainted them black. Just so it doesn't look so brash and too bright. Nothing else has really happened other than fitted brake pipes and just some more painting. Out of my bits, I put on an express head code. These are, I know they're Southern root discs, but that's all I had on stock. I repainted the pupils because I don't really like how Gordon's original pupils were just small little dots. It kind of looked a bit creepy, so I thought I'd make them bigger and just a half circle that goes into his cheek. And I think that looks much better than the original. But yeah, Gordon was a freebie along with, well, a trade with James. Gordon and James were trades for some wooden trains, and I got 2 working locos rather than spending about 150 for each probably on eBay. And that's really it. You just got to find people who don't really want the Hornby Thomas range stuff because it's either broken or absolutely thrashed, or you just find a really good deal and you just go for it, really. Let's go for Wagons, because this video is nearly half an hour. So before I go on to my Thomas Wagons and rolling stock, here are my Thomas related wagons, as I'll say. Oh, there's my custom Neil back there, my scrap Neil. This Eso Tanker, it's almost very similar to the Tidmouth milk tanker. I've included that. Well, more similar to the red lettered Tidmouth milk tanker, which I would like to find. But, of course, people have caught on and they go for stupid money. 100 quid for a bloomin' tanker. No, thank you. This DJS petroleum tanker. This is almost related to the Sodor fuel tanker, as it is the same base, but just different lettering, of course, after they lost the Thomas license. East Valley Scrap Company. This is, of course, a reuse of the Sodor scrap wagon. Same colour wagon and same coloured lettering, but just a different name on there. I think that's really it for Thomas related, or Thomas reused wagons, I can call them. Here's my Annie and Clarabelle. These were a trade for an Oxford Rail wall flat. I'm not kidding. I traded my Oxford wall flat for these 2 Annie and Clarabelle. Now, for every other person out there, it sounds like a stupid plan, but the thing is, I traded these with M, good friend, and just recently returned from a hiatus. I traded with her, or them, I should say. I haven't checked pronouns recently. My bad. I had a Oxford Rail wall flat with a steamroller on it, and I wasn't using it that much because it was just because I don't know, I wasn't really using that much because it just didn't really fit in with my other stock. Because to be truthful, it was too detailed for me. And M had an Annie and Clarabelle, which she wasn't really using. So we both traded some stuff. I traded off my wall flat to her so she could use it more. And I got in return this Annie and Clarabelle and some other bits and bobs. But this Annie and Clarabelle's I prefer because these are the older style ones with the older faces and not the fake windows that Hornby adds onto their later models with the window outline. So yeah, these 2 are special in their own way because Annie here is actually a factory error, apparently. She's got Clarabelle's face. She's meant to have the stock standard shocked face or tired out face. But I like this Annie because it's just a normal content face along with Clarabelle. So that's pretty special to me, but I just run it. They're pretty clean condition, other than when I've covered them fingerprints and I've kind of lost the value because I've added weights to underneath of the chassis because they're a bit light. But yeah, I'm pretty happy to have them 2, and especially this version of Annie and Clarabelle. Now for my proper wagons. Here is a tar tanker. I can't remember where I got this from. I think this was actually from Great Eastern Models along with another tanker. Must have been. Along from Great Eastern Models are what I've shown recently. My cream tanker and my ice cream van. These 2 are a great deal because I've just recently went back on eBay to go see how much they cost. And if you want any of them each, with or without a box, they cost you around 20 to 30 quid each. So getting them for 15 as a pair, bloody brilliant. And I'm glad I didn't skip out on them. Here are my Troublesome Trucks, the brown ones. I am missing one version of the Troublesome Truck, and I'll post a picture of it somewhere in this video. But it uses those, You know the Christmas wagons that come out every year? It's that type of model. It's very subtle difference, but if I could find it, I would like to have it. I'm not very desperate for it, but it would be nice to have. So these are my two oldest style white-rimmed wheels Troublesome Trucks. Here's a later version from the 2000s with metal wheels and a darker brown colour. I've added my coal load in there. I've got one more of these, but it's kind of rough condition. It's missing some tension locks. These are my troublesome vans. I've got to repaint these roofs at some point and probably glue them on so they don't get lost for future reference. I think one pair of this van and this truck, they were from Nat, and another pair was from Cameron. Here's my Tidmouth milk tanker. That's from Cameron. The cap and the strapping, that was also from the same seller who had the spare Thomas faces. And he's still got a few of them. Here is I think it's from 2013 or something. This is the weathered cattle wagon. It was missing wheels, so I've added wheels. This I got along with Duck. Some of the weathering's been scratched off, but I don't really care too much as long as I just have it. It's just convenient to have it. And my other cattle wagon that comes from Nat as well. This is the early cream cattle wagon. This was just reused in a few early Thomas sets. I think it had some lettering, like SR for Southern Railway, but that was removed again to be put in Thomas sets. So there's my wagons of the Thomas range so far. Hopefully at some point, if I just conveniently come across some, I'll just get another Tidmouth milk tanker and maybe another fuel tanker. And just whatever a Thomas wagon I could come across for cheap. Because I would like to build up a rake of them. Because that's what I just do. I just buy Hornby Thomas stuff for cheap. That's been my Hornby Thomas collection. This is going to be a pain to edit because it's super, super long. I hope you all enjoyed. And if I missed out anything, I'm going to smack myself around the face. Nearly missed out on one Thomas related thing. Mosley and 43209 here. They are the X040 Hornby Thomas tooling. So I thought I'd include them. And I know Percy has been reused into the Hornby Thomas range recently. And this tooling's been kept using on and on and on. There's a Queen Elizabeth one, I think, for the Collectors Club. There's a Coca-Cola one. There's a few that haven't been released, like there's a Caledonian one, a very fake Great Eastern Railways one in green for some reason. One called Billy. S. Wilson Paper Company, I think. That's another green one. What else? There is... oh, I know there's a few more. There's a few more that have been released. I know there's for like Collectors Club, like a Trying Hornby Centenary one, or Hornby Railways. I don't know what they're doing now, but it hasn't been released yet. But yeah, there's just a few I can name off the top of my head for reuse of the 040 Hornby Thomas tooling. Right, that's going to be more of a pain to edit together. 34 minutes of a video. Brilliant. Who is going to watch this? Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll get some more content out this week or next week, because I've got the 2 weeks off. It's a bit delayed for me for some reason, but oh well. A holiday's a holiday. But yeah. Thank you for watching.